friends, and welcome to an all-new episode of All New Snap Judgments. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me today is my friend and yours, the Space Emperor of Future, Sandworm Glazer, who is sunning himself in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful East Coast weather that we're having now. It is a pleasant time to be living on the American East Coast. Let me tell you, Aaron Glazer, Pulse Glazer, my friend, how are you doing on this balmy afternoon?
I'm doing really well. The heat is all turned up on the East Coast of the United States. It's also all turned up in Marvel Snap with the hot July coming and the recent release of Arishem, who's totally taken over the meta.
Oh, well, that gives us a lot to talk about this week. And I love Glazer's actual full professional focus there on this introductory here about what we're going to be talking about. So I'll go tit for tat here. Aaron, what wonderful special guests do we have that will discuss this sort of hot dog days of summer here in Marvel Snap?
We've got one of the biggest and best Marvel Snap streamers. He streams freaking all the time, constantly, tons of viewers, constantly, whenever he, honestly tries, sits near the top of the Infinite leaderboard, builds his own decks really often that are top of the meta stuff. It is Spyro. Welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I guess you got it. That sums it up. Streaming quite often. I stream Marvel Snap. I do typically enjoy high level gameplay. I typically do try hard. And yeah, just enjoy trying out new cards, new decks, and seeing how metas evolve and whatnot.
And how could our loyal viewers find you when they want to after this episode on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter?
You could just type in Spyro_ZA. It's the same on Twitch and YouTube and pretty much any platform. On Twitter, 2 underscores, because apparently Spyro_ZA was already taken by someone who hasn't even tweeted in 7 years or something. But or even longer than that, actually. I don't even know. But yeah, basically just type in Spyro_ZA on whatever platform and you should be able to find me.
I mean, that's fair. If you look for KM Best on Twitter and you type in KM Best, you're getting Catherine M. Best. Totally innocent person who gets tagged in a lot of weird bullshit. So,
are they actually active on Twitter, or is it a dead account?
Seemingly not. It's seemingly a dead account.
It's a harmless crime then.
I mean, unless they're just what are all these spam emails I keep getting? I thought I didn't use that. What's the password again? Yeah, whatever. Our second guest today was number 2 on the Infinite leaderboard last season, but number 1 in our hearts. He apparently only ever competes on the Infinite leaderboard when Zuns is off from school, and otherwise, is perfectly happy to play casually. He's streaming again all the time and is seemingly allergic to sleep. I had to yell at him at 5 a.m, his time, to go to sleep because we had the podcast a few hours later. It is Sizer. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me today.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
I can speak, I swear to God. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where our audience can find you.
Yeah, gladly. So I managed to get rank 1 in December. I was rank 2 last season and rank 3 the season before. I always try to end up top 10 in the leaderboard.
You were tied for rank 2 last season.
Last season?
Yep.
Well, the season before that, I was 3rd.
Okay. Okay.
How does the game handle ties, by the way? What does the game do in tiebreakers?
It doesn't. It just lists both names with the same number of snap points.
But the first person who was there initially has then the advantage of the lead.
Okay. I didn't know that. Cool.
But yeah, I mean, more about myself. I played card games all my life. It's just destiny that I found my way to Marvel Snap. And another interesting fact about me is in my last year in university, so 10 years ago, I became famous and I competed in esports tournaments in a game called Guild Wars 2.
Nice. And what's your Twitch account, since you're allergic to Twitter, as we all probably should be?
Yeah, I don't believe in Twitter. I don't know. But my Twitch account, I started streaming 2 weeks ago. My plan is to stream every day 4 hours, at least. My Twitch is Sizer2654.
2654. I think I actually wrote the name wrong at the end. I'll fix that. Roy will fix that before we get to that slide.
If I he said numbers, and I can't keep numbers straight.
2654. I think
All
I said
right.
5424. It always gets mixed up in my head. Numbers don't stick in my head either, which is how I managed to read them, try and copy them over, and type them wrong in the meantime.
Welcome to my
Roy's
life.
got to do his other thing. Sorry, Roy. Go ahead.
Yep. So I'm going to say real quick how you can engage with us on social media. We don't have the good taste that Sizer has, and we do have a Twitter account on Elon Musk's sort of death spiral of a social media platform. So our Twitter/X handle is at SnapJudgeCast, which I am the sort of KM best of our account because I get all the notifications alongside Glazer. So if you would like to spam my phone, which buzzes all day long thanks to your engagement with our Twitter account, you can do so at SnapJudgeCast. We are incredibly grateful each and every week to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone, where many friends of the show and our lovely host, Aaron Glazer, all write regular articles, produce content, and we are just so grateful for the support of Marvel Snap Zone and their support of all of our awesome friends in the Marvel Snap community. So please go join their Discord. The link is in the description of this episode, either on YouTube or your friendly neighborhood podcatcher. The Discord is very active. It's the best large Discord in all of Marvel Snap, and you can engage with Glazer there and the awesome community there by clicking that link. Our email, the snail mail of the internet, is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. All right, we will do our best to reply to your emails if we can find it through the kick spam, which, unlike our Twitter notifications, is going down. Very grateful about that. Again, email snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. But last but not least, the king of our socials, the YouTube channel, where every single day, except for Saturdays when this podcast releases, Glazer is offering daily Snap takes, daily content with multiple decks, lots of discussion of Marvel Snap. So, Glazer, if our loyal listeners were to become our loyal viewers as well, what would they find on the YouTube right now?
All right, well, tomorrow's video, you should keep a lookout for. It's where I go over what the top 5 players on the Infinite Leaderboard played last season. So if you're curious about what the top of the Infinite Leaderboard was playing, literally 1 through 5, I have almost every deck that they played for the season that we will go through.
Awesome. That is really exciting. The other thing you could do is you can support us on Patreon. All right, our Patreon is Snap Judgments. Now, this is what I say each and every week, but it is true. We are, unlike some Patrons, we are not a pyramid scheme. We are a reverse pyramid scheme. The Patreon is how Glazer justifies to himself, to his wife, to his young son, how he spends all of this money to support the community in Marvel Snap. All right, so the Patreon is a way that Glazer gives back, supports tournaments like, of course, the Snap Judgments League and the sort of daily or weekly tournaments that fire with run by Gunny T. There's lots of amazing stuff in the Snap Judgments League Discord. Lots of them that is only made possible by the Patreon. So please support us. As low as $1 gets you in the Snap Judgments League and other amazing, amazing perks. So again, Snap Judgments, Patreon, support it. If you care about competitive Snap, which we're going to be talking about all day today, you should support us over at the Patreon. All right, let's dig into the content you all crave, just like people crave this character, Gwenpool. All right, so Gwenpool is a 4/6 Series 5 Season Pass card. I spent my money a couple days ago to get her. Haven't played any games with her yet, though. So I'm excited to see what our two guests have to tell us here. So the text of this is, on reveal, pick a random card in your hand 3 times. Give +2 power each time. Again, 4 energy, 6 strength baseline with that text. Sizer, what do you think of this month's Season Pass card?
Yeah, I think that firstly, everyone's going to experiment in Surfer with this card, because it's a natural fit with Brood. And there's some interesting decks running also, like this Destroy package with Destroyer and Shuris and those kind of cards with it. But I think ultimately its home will be in some Bounce Mysterio decks. I mean, honestly, I haven't played the card too much. I was too busy playing around with some move decks. But it is sometimes this deck can really go off when it hits Mr. Sinisters or Broods. You can get unexpected power. But I'm a bit biased because I play Shadow King in my deck, and as long as I enter turn 6 not having priority, I can just Shadow King it. So I'm a bit biased in it and undervaluing it a bit. But I've lost games to people popping up with crazy Mr. Sinisters and Broods. I don't know, it's an okay card, but I still need to test it more.
Spyro?
I tested it quite a bit yesterday. It was surprisingly not bad. I mean, you can use it on things like Brood, obviously, and Mysterio, and it gets like double, sometimes even triple value. The trick is obviously there's two quirks or two caveats to the card. A, you need to try play all the cards that it boosts. Sometimes it boosts the same card multiple times and it's not so difficult. Sometimes it boosts cards quite evenly and then you have to like play all the cards. But there are ways around. Obviously, if you do things like, for example, play with Makari in a Silver Surfer deck, there's less cards in your hand, which means there's less targets she can accidentally buff. But overall, I think this card, quite reliably, I would say, when I was playing it, I was on average probably getting like 12-ish points from it, honestly, on average. Like, when sometimes it was more, sometimes a little bit less, but on average, I'd say she was playing for like 10 to 12 points, which is not bad for a 4-cost card.
Right.
Again, I haven't gotten a chance to play with this card. My Marvel Snap time has been mostly just trying out those negative decks that were popular right before the card came out, so that all our friends here on Infinite Leaderboard have been playing. So I haven't seen her. I also haven't played against her a lot, which I think might be one of those things of like where I am in my sort of like scrub land over here. So I don't have a strong opinion about it. But I do want to say sort of where I'm most interested this year is sort of, I'm going to try out these Surfer decks, although I don't have Makari, so maybe that won't work. I'm also interested to play her in Gilgamesh shells. I've seen some people streaming that deck, and it seems a little bit interesting to me because I'm definitely interested in, as I say, I think week after week is sort of like Gilgamesh decks that get away from always playing Blue Marvel on 5, and Gwenpool giving you additional options for that deck, I think is really interesting and really cool. So that's sort of like later in the week when I find the time to sit down and like really play with Gwenpool. That's the thing I'm most excited to experiment with.
So I think she's so much better than I expected. I expected her to be kind of garbage. Like, you can listen to last week's episode. We predicted how she would be. And I thought she was going to suck, and I definitely don't think she sucks. Her best friend, and very few people have noticed this comes from Comey's Italian player, who is the world champion currently. But with Grandmaster, this card is silly. Like, crazy power with Grandmaster. You can do that in Bounce, but I don't see a reason you can't do that in Surfer, because you've got plenty of other Grandmaster targets in Surfer too, right? Like, if you can go Gwenpool on 4, Grandmaster, and pick a 3 on 5, right? Then all of a sudden, like, you're dropping like a bajillion power Surfer, or you've got if you dropped Absorb Man, you've got a crazy like a million power Brood to play with Surfer, or a crazy power Brood to play with a Killmonger, or whatever. Anything along those lines is just so much power. I think there's a lot to like here. I don't think it's going to be necessarily meta yet, because, well, we have to get through the Arishem stuff, and the meta's really weird because of the Arishem stuff with just like random Darkhawk and things, right? Like, it's a very strange meta, but I think once the meta returns to, we always return to sort of a mid-range normalcy in Marvel Snap, and once we get to that mid-range normalcy, I can see Gwenpool being a better card.
That was interesting with the Grandmaster touch. It's true, yeah. Should be experimented more.
I've actually tried Grandmaster and Silver Surfer before. I wasn't a huge fan because I just found there were so many unreveal cards that it actually ended up being a bit awkward to hit the exact one you want, because Brood gets in the way and there's a lot of board space being taken up by things like that. But maybe I should try revisit, because Grandmaster I often find myself playing Absorbing Man on Gwenpool sometimes, and if you think about it, Grandmaster is actually just a cheaper Absorbing Man in certain cases, right? Which is kind of nice.
My Zabu dream, my like literal Zabu dream, is that he goes back to 3-2, and then he gets the activate play, make the next 4s you cost 2 less, like the original one, but only for 1 turn as an activate. I think that which would mean you'd have to do it on turn 5, plus either Wongan Gwenpool or Gwenpool and Grandmaster is going to be completely silly. When you can make that a one-turn play, I think that, like, if you can make that a one-turn play, clearly, right? Like, not when. If you can make that a one-turn play, I think that this would be insanely strong.
Yeah, could be.
Definitely makes Luke Cage a really important card for these Surfer decks, to go over Sizer's point, right? Like, Shadow King is easy answer to Gwenpool, and that's sort of, if you can go Luke Cage on 3, Gwenpool on 4, Grandmaster, Gwenpool again, like, that's pretty unstoppable. So
Luke Cage goes in the meta next week when Ajax comes out. So one way or the other, we're about to see a lot more Luke Cage.
Yeah, that's very true.
It depends on how popular Ajax will be, but yeah, possibly.
Sure, but for at least the first week, you pack Luke Cage just so you don't get farmed. You know what I mean? Like, as everyone always tries the new card.
And also, Ajax has a pretty good Spotlight Cash week, right? It's a pretty good week, if I'm remembering.
I think it's Darkhawk and some... what's the other one? It was Darkhawk and something else.
It is, because I have this tab open. Darkhawk and Beta Ray Bill.
Okay,
so that's a really good Spotlight week.
Yeah, it's a good Spotlight week. So I think he might get opened a lot. So, all right. Any other final thoughts about Gwenpool, or are we good to talk about Hydra Bob?
No.
Okay.
Maybe a last
Hydra
point
Bob.
on Gwenpool. Oh, sorry.
Sure, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think we're in need of a good 4-drop again. So, like, since the Zabel nerf, like, the 4-drops, like, are not so popular anymore, and maybe it's nice that we have Gwenpool now.
Yeah. Definitely a generically good 4-drop, which it seems like Gwenpool is, based on what y'all are saying, is, yeah, it's a good place to be. All right. Now, let's find out if Hydra Bob is generically good. All right, so 1-4, Series 5. Again, friends, everything is a big bad now. 6k tokens. After each turn, this moves if a player snapped. Spyro, what you got for us?
This is a tricky one. So, first of all, I have gotten every single new card in the game for the longest time. I think I skipped Martyr, which I got to the later point anyway. And I think I skipped Martyr and Lady Deathstrike. I do have them now, but I initially skipped them. So I've very rarely skipped cards. I skipped Hydra Bob because it's just, there's two reasons for it. It's, as a content creator's perspective, it's a 1-4. It's kind of boring. It's just a 1-4. I mean, sure, you could say there's some synergies with things like, I don't know, some movement synergies with Craven or whatever, but like, generally speaking, it's going to be a 1-4 that's an unpredictable 1-4, right? It can move to a location you don't want to move to, or move when you don't want to move to. It's not a very exciting card. It's not a very fun card. And it, honestly, I don't even think it's a very good card either. I mean, it's a 1-4, which stat line is not bad, I guess, but it has a downside, right? And typically cards that have downsides that are 1 cost, they typically have a lot of upside. Like if you think about, not upside, they typically have a lot more points. Like if you look at Ebony Moore, he's a 1-7, obviously a big downside, which you can obviously turn into a positive if you like disable the ongoing or whatever. But overall, I don't know, 1-4, it's not bad, but it's also just kind of just dull and also just not very exciting.
Sizer?
Yeah, I agree with Spyro. Pretty much all the points he said there. I mean, as a principle, it is a 1-4. It's higher status than the other 1-4s, but it's not so interesting. And just now, while you guys were talking, I thought of maybe a way to adjust it, but I'm not sure. It was just a quick thought. If it bounces after snapping to a location you're losing, or something random like that, I wouldn't know exactly how to adjust it. But my first thoughts originally was that this is maybe opening room for future C4 potential, Cerebral 4 decks. But I'm also a bit underwhelmed by the card and decided to skip it.
So we probably on our last week's episode talked about this card like the mostly because we didn't know how it worked. So now that we know how it works, right? It moves at most twice, correct? That is how it works.
I also thought it would move like continuously as long as someone snapped.
At least that would be cool, right?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it would have like more Craven synergy then.
And the other question I have is, all right, so let's say Glazer and I are playing. I snap. He snaps on the same turn. Does Hydra Bob move twice or once?
I couldn't tell you. I haven't played it.
I bought it. I played it twice, and that didn't happen.
Okay.
This card's not good.
No, it's not a good card, but I think it's worth trying to tell our listeners and viewers how this card works.
No idea. I can't bring myself to play it enough. I'll play it for weekend missions and get back to you.
Okay, we'll talk the next week.
I'm the only person who bought this stupid card, and that's just because I'm drowning in resources. Like, it doesn't matter. And so I bought Hydra Bob. It's either going to get the Meek treatment, where like after it snaps, you can choose to move it, so it's just like Nightcrawler after a snap, which makes it useless against Boomer snaps, but fine. Or it's going to get just naked 1/5. I think one of those two is basically guaranteed, and if they like want to make people feel bad because every content creator scripted, and they're like, "Hey, screw you, we fix all the cards," then it'll be both. Like, this card is fucking terrible, like actively terrible. One of the worst cards they've ever printed or released. I have it currently as the second worst Spotlight card ever, and it's actually offensive that they made this a Series 5 card.
Yeah, well, that's just how they do it. To be consistent, they just do that with everything Series 5. So
everything's a big bad now, man. That's what I've been saying. Like,
sure, but like this card is like, it's so bad. Like, no one has played this against me. I've watched, I don't know, because I had to get my Twitch drops, right? So like, I watched a million different streamers yesterday, and then I was like playing Baldur's Gate, and I was up till like 1 a.m. sitting in people's streams. And yeah, not a single Hydra Bob.
I saw Hydra Bob once,
but
it was someone playing Arishem, so it was created.
Oh, okay.
It's any time I saw it.
Hey, it was created, you know, you play it on one, and whatever, you know, like... Or I guess 2 in Arishem.
You can play it whenever the hell you want in Arishem.
That's true.
So, yeah. All right. Yeah. This card is junk. I feel like
it is
talked about this too
disappointing
much.
to me. Like, I was excited. It also, I want to double back to something we said last week. It is frustrating, cards like this, the like broad attitude of like figure out how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, particularly in a world where we don't have crafting, like that was a bit more acceptable in Hearthstone, where you could craft the card, see how it works, and then get some resources back if it sucks because the wording was unclear. In Marvel Snap, tokens go one direction, back to second dinner, and so it's a little frustrating that they were not super clear about how this card was going to work, but it is what it is.
It'd be nice to like give you like a little like window, like, and show you like a little clip of video for like 2 seconds next to each card, so you can see how it works.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
I feel like the community wanted a card that you don't feel forced to buy, like in a sense.
This whole month, I think his cards are not forced to buy. Even if like whatchamacallit, Ajax or
I mean, I think
Copycat are good.
I think Copycat
you don't have to buy Cassandra.
I mean, yeah, Cassandra you can get for free, but I think Copycat I think she's going to be very good.
Sure, I think so too. But if you bought, how many 3-drops can you conceivably run? If you bought Red Guardian and Nocturne, like, or one of the two and have Gladiator, you know what I mean? Like, how many 3-drops?
Fine, just play Silver Surfer and you can play them all.
Fair.
There you go.
But, like, actually, there's so little space in Silver Surfer that no, you can't anymore.
Well, all right. So, well, speaking of card that everyone bought, I guess I think this is the most controversial Marvel Snap card released since
Loki,
yeah.
Mobius.
Goliath.
Mobius was released.
Mobius is like the same time as Loki, though. Like that's like
Elsa.
Probably Elsa. I would even say like Blob, maybe.
It's more controversial than Blob. There was no controversy about Blob. Blob was just broken. Everyone's like, hey, Blob's broken. It's like, yep, Blob's broken. Look, it's got the best win rate and cube rate in Marvel Snap. Amazing.
All right. So, Arishem. All right. So, I think everyone here has played a lot of Arishem. I played a lot since it was released. I really enjoyed playing Arishem. The mirrors were a little annoying sometimes. We'll get to this. But, all right, Sizer, what do you think about this card in general? Before we dig in.
I have a lot to say about Arishem. So, I do think it's low-key OP. And like in theory, an Arishem deck, you'd think it suffers against a combo deck because it can't draw consistently its combo pieces. So in theory, to counter Arishem, you have to play a combo deck. In theory, though, but in practice, Arishem just pumps out so much power that it's not certain that you, even though it's a combo deck, that you would beat it. Let me just cover like how to counter Arishem quickly. Arishem struggles against clog decks as additional to combo decks. It can't consistently stop the magic. You have a 37% chance, right, in an Arishem deck to draw a given card. So if you have a big boy on the board, there's a 37% chance he has a Shang-Chi, plus maybe a few percent if he generated randomly. But yeah, Arishem is a very fun card, but it's very hard to judge how well it's performing at the moment, because you very often, when the card released, you're playing Arishem Mirrors, where the win rate is hard to get above 55% or 50%. You're kind of there in the mirrors. And if you're not playing a mirror, you're playing a counter deck. And this, even though this is all prevalent, Arishem is still performing very well. And I do believe it might need a slight adjustment, maybe the Thanos adjustment, that it starts in your hand, or potentially it regenerates more random cards in your deck than 12. But ultimately, I think it's low-key OP. And to beat it, you would have to play some sort of combo deck or clock deck.
Spyro?
Oh boy, where do I even start? I've been ranting a lot about this card recently. Yeah, it's fun. It was, for me, I had a lot of fun the first day or two of the card. Like it was cool. Like you get to, it's like almost like playing draft. The fun of it is, you get a different deck every game, and it's like you got to figure out how to work with this deck, and that can be fun. The problem is, to me, a fundamental importance about Marvel Snap is the snap and retreat functionality. That is what makes Snap, like that's where the skill comes in. Be able to identify when to snap. If you snap too late, if it's very obvious you're going to win the game, it's also very obvious to your opponent they're going to lose the game. So you need to snap before it's obvious, right? And that's where the skill comes in Snap and knowing when to retreat. But with Arishem, it's so hard to justify retreating against for a lot of situations, because you go, okay, I could lose to Shang-Chi, but the chances of them having Shang-Chi is like 37%, because that's just the math. The chances are mathematically that I should stay in this game. And it's not just that, it's just that the whole random element makes it so that your opponent, let's say you're playing a Living Tribunal ongoing deck, and your opponent snaps on you. You ask yourself, why did they snap? Okay, and then later on turn 6, they play Enchantress and wipe out all your cards, and it's like, but then that Enchantress was created by Arishem. It's frustrating because you couldn't predict that. You couldn't see it coming. When you play against decks that are created, when people build the decks, you know what you're up against. Typically, you have information, okay, this deck, even if you don't know the deck, you can make deductions. You can say, okay, this deck looks like the kind of deck that might be playing this card or Shang-Chi or that card or whatever. And you can play around these things. Whereas against Arishem, a lot of the time, it feels like it's just like a random BS go. You're just throwing out random cards and you don't know what to expect. It's also very frustrating in the mirror, because the mirror is just a complete joke of who can create the better combo piece. And it takes away a lot of element of skill, I think. It is a fun card. I understand. I've seen both sides argument. I've seen a lot of people for it. A lot of people told me, they've had more fun in Snap than they have in a long time since this card. But I do think a lot of that's also novelty. I think it's a new card. I think it allows people to play in a new way. But once that novelty wears off, I personally want to play a game where snapping and retreating means something. Whereas when I play against Arishem, I feel like I'm just playing it out and seeing what happens, because I don't know what's going to happen. And half the time, I don't think my opponents know what's going to happen either. Another issue is, the most obvious issue is the popularity is way too high. Like no card should be, I remember the first week it was like 60-70% popular, and it's dropped down a bit. Obviously it would drop down a bit. That any card that's new will obviously drop down, but it's still very popular. I'm still, like today, there's a hot location that, and I was still playing against, I would say at least like 30-40% of my games are against Arishem, which is far too high. Cassandra will be a nerf to Arishem. Cassandra is going to be a very good counter, similar to Darkhawk. It's going to be like a 3-cost version of Darkhawk, so to speak, against Arishem. So maybe that'll help bring down the popularity a bit. But as it stands right now, the card is far too popular, and I don't mind this card existing, but it needs not to be like a tier 1 meta deck that's just constantly what you're up against.
I think this card is going to get put into a normal place relatively soon. I don't think that, I think the meta, it's meta warping, right? This is the first time we've seen so much Shang-Chi since the heyday of Thanos. But And it means a much more tech-heavy meta. We're seeing a lot more Rogue, we're seeing a lot more Echo, we're seeing a lot more Alioth is back, like Cosmo is back all over the place. We're seeing a lot more tech cards all of a sudden. And that's not always indicative of a healthy Marvel Snap meta. A lot of the healthier Marvel Snap metas are ones where like you're trying to interact but in small ways to gain smaller advantages, and Arishem's a blow you out deck. A lot of it is that like you can't plan for it, because it cheats energy. When it wins, it tends to blow you out. And when it loses, I mean, sometimes it gets blown out, but like they know what they have and they know what a regular opposing deck has, so they can run more effectively. In a strange way, well, I guess it's not a strange way because they're definitely, I think, mirrors. This feels an awful lot like Loki, where like they Loki you with 5 cards and you're like, shit, did they get it? And you have no real way of knowing if they got it, right?
Yeah.
Like, versus the like, you know what the odds are in a regular Marvel Snap deck. They have 75% chance of seeing any given card. When you completely shake that up with a Loki and so on, you don't know what they're drawing. Like, the sheer amount of times I get blown out by a Loki that top deck to Shang-Chi is absurd, right? Like, where you're just like, how did you Loki'd on 5? Where is that Shang from? And you're just, it's frustrating, right? But like, I don't love the type of design that Loki and Arishem represent, but they represent the type of design that Second Dinner seems to want. They
I think
want...
Yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
carry on. No, go on.
Go.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. Actually, I forgot to mention that the thing that you about also comparing to Loki is the Arishem player, when they don't get a good hand, when they draw like garbage, they just retreat and go, okay, cool, -1 cube, it's fine. But when they draw the nuts, they're often getting 4, sometimes 8 cubes, because they know they have they have the information. You playing against them, you don't have that information. They know what win con they create. If you're playing like my example, a tribunal deck, and they get Enchantress, they know what counter they have. They know you're dead. You can't see that. You have no clue what's about to come. So the cube equity is in their favor. Similar to Loki. It's another problem I have with Loki is Loki has the same situation. When Loki gets the nuts and they get the perfect Loki, they're going to get 4 or 8 cubes sometimes, but when you're playing against Loki, you have to go, did he get the perfect hand? Do I stay? Am I supposed to just retreat? But if I keep retreating all the time against Loki, then I'm just going to lose cubes over a long period of time. I have to draw the line somewhere and play it out, but that's the thing.
So the way I have been playing against Arishem, that's given me a fair amount of success, my win rate against the card has been good, is well, I play a lot of bounce, and Arishem like telegraphs where its power is going to be, and I keep Shadow King in my bounce deck, so I don't have priority, and then I don't give a shit about your stupid blob, and I can win one of the other two, right? But outside of that, the other way I win is I snap very early. If they don't Coulson on 2, and they're playing sort of diddling shit on 1, you know what I mean? Like, if they're playing regular old stuff, I'm snapping early and saying, if you're staying in with just the generated cards and whatever you happen to draw. And sometimes that bites me, right? Sometimes they drew Blob and Rogue, and I'm just like, well, screw you. But most of the time when I'm snapping early, they're either, running because I'm not giving them time to draw into stuff that they're not especially likely to draw into mathematically, or they're staying, and I'm running at least one Arishem counter card. Usually for me, that's Shadow King. For most people, that card seems to be Darkhawk or Shang-Chi. I'm occasionally running Darkhawk because I run a lot of Darkhawk decks. It's a card that I play a lot. But like, I'm almost always running Shadow King in decks now. And if you can throw Prio, Shadow King steals a lot of cubes. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because people are generally speaking expecting to, if you play Shang-Chi to counter the Blob last turn without priority, you usually don't have enough energy left to otherwise win. But if you play Shadow King, you still have the 4 or Sarah 5 energy left to play with, and you can still steal another lane. So, like, I do think that there's counterplay. I think it fundamentally shakes up how we play Marvel Snap. I think it's exponentially weaker than Loki. It's Loki was the number 1 deck the first 3 seasons after release.
To be fair, one issue I still have is that I still don't like Loki to this day. I still dislike what I see in Loki, and Arishem just supports Loki, and it's just like it's like a new tool for Loki, and that makes me dislike it even more, because I still to this day really don't like Loki, and the fact that all Arishem decks are playing Loki bugs me even more.
I in no way disagree with that sentiment. I think that, yeah, that's a problem. I think one potential fix for Arishem decks that I'd really like to see that I haven't heard anyone say is +1 energy costs in your deck cannot be reduced.
That's a pretty big change.
Get rid of the Quinjet, get rid of the Loki, the versions that are running Sarah and shit.
And the Mockingbird.
Mockingbird. Just say your cost can't be reduced. You get +1 energy, play fair otherwise. And I think that fundamentally fixes the card. But I don't think we need to see it fixed until Cassandra Nova comes out, because I think Cassandra Nova is fundamentally going to kill this card.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to put that in every single deck I can for the first week or so.
It's just no downside, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's going to be my job here to talk positively about Arishem. Maybe that is, again, because I am not, a top-ranked player, and I get to represent the scrubs of the world here. But I think that Arishem's novelty is definitely a huge selling point for it. And I think another thing that I'm also a believer that it's weird that I think people crystallized around one approach to Arishem. So my hope is that now that Arishem is seeing less play, that maybe non-Loki versions, because I think the biggest problem with Arishem when I was playing it was just how inbred it was, right? That it was I had a Loki and they had a Loki, and we were Lokiing to get the tech cards that we put in for mirrors against one another, and that was insufferable and not fun, right? That, and it's just a bigger Loki mirror is how I felt playing Arishem. And I hope, and I know there's some content creators have been pushing this, it's other approaches to Arishem that are more focused on the ramp approach than this Loki inbred I'm gonna steal your answers before you steal them from me. That may also possibly get around some of the answers Darkhawk, right? And might play some specific things that target Darkhawk, but don't necessarily try to just constantly win the mirror as the Arishem sort of play rate goes down. I think that will make the card way less insufferable. I mean, it won't get around some of the fundamental information paralysis that cards like this and Loki create, but I think would make the card much more fun. Because what stands out to me is this as a ramp card, right? Versus with the high cost of this bullshit draws that you get, right? That sometimes you draw the perfect card you want to ramp into, other times you draw Dagger. The most frustrating Arishem card game I ever played was if I literally had drawn any card with power, I would have won, and I drew a Dagger. And it's and that's an experience for Arishem that I'm gonna remember, right? Versus the times when I snowball. To double back to sort of Sizer, I think another that I think people also, I think too many people took the combo approach to beat this, both in the sort of Mr. Negative sense and the ongoing sense, when I think actually Clog is the best way to beat it, right? Because this is a deck that really wants as many spaces as possible, and if you clog up their board, you can limit them to sort of they win one lane, or that lane can then get blown out by a Shang-Chi or a Darkhawk or whatever. And I think Arishem plays with having the most options open. And I think the best way, if you have, again, this is in Scrublandia, the most success that I've had in non-Arishem mirrors is if we both limit each other's options. Yes, I don't know what you can do as the Arishem player, but I know you can only do it in a set number of places. And that makes it much easier and controls the information paralysis. So sort of my suggestion to folks is, if you are frustrated by Arishem, don't just go mid-range Darkhawk, because that's asking to compete on Arishem's terms, where they can blow you out with the tech card. And instead, do a Clog approach, where then you force the Arishem player to play on your terms. And that is, I think, a much funner, more not necessarily healthy, but healthy experience for you as the person who hates Arishem. Versus I think cards like this, and this is something that's sort of in my card game experience, cards like this, if you try to fight them on their own terms, whether you're successful or not, is going to be frustrating for you. And I think if you try to make them play on your terms, then it gets to be, even if you lose, you're still you know what, it was a close game. They played they generated the one card that could beat me, versus, and that just happens sometimes. Again, that's sort of my sort of take on Arishem, which again, I think I'm more interested to see where this card is in a month than where it is right now. Because I think where it is right now, even before Cassandra Nova, but also when the novelty of the card is still fresh. This is something that we talked about also last week, was like Marvel Snap is the ultimate, like, I'm gonna use a really bad metaphor, but it's the ultimate like 3-date Tinder person, where it's like, first date's awesome, second date you're like, oh, this person's I don't know, they said the wrong thing about some movie I like. Third, that they're like really annoying, right? Like, and then then you're just like done and you're ghosting them. That is like Marvel Snap's community's attitude to these big meta changing cards, where they like they see one drawback, one set of bad experiences with someone, they're like, I'm done, nerf this, ghost it, get it out of my face. And Arishem's just repeated a more extreme version of that pattern to me.
I thought of a fun fact about beating Arishem. Like, there's certain locations where you can snap against an Arishem player. Like, if there's locations like, fill this location, you get a free 6 cost, or fill this location, you get +3 energy. The Arishem player will struggle to draw a Jeff, Nocturne, Vision. That's not even in the base Arishem decks currently. So if there's so those locations, they are never able to fill it up, because then that location will be abandoned. So if you see locations like, fill this up, get a free 6 cost, it's kind of a location you can snap against them. Just a fun fact.
I very much agree. Like, there's a lot of counterplay to this card. It doesn't make it not great and not like reasonably overpowered, but there is an insane amount of counterplay to this card. The question is going to come down to, like, almost everyone that's complaining about it is a competitive Marvel Snap player, and almost everyone I hear who loves it is on the lower ends of Marvel Snap. Without trying to be insulting, that's just the way this is broken down. Second Dinner is much happier to please the majority than the minority, who are taking this game very seriously. But they do need to pay attention to the fact, or the seeming fact, that most of the high-end players are the ones who spend the most money. So there
Not
is
just that, but they also need to look at the
balance.
popularity. I think I've been discussing that on my stream as well, about that argument of casuals versus experienced players. But there's one objective metric: no card should ever be that popular. If the popularity doesn't go down, maybe it will go down naturally over time, perhaps. But as it stands right now, no card should ever be this popular. It's too popular, and the popularity is just too high.
I agree, but that's a problem with Marvel Snap's release. Right? Like, that's the problem with the way they release cards. If Arishem came up with 20 other cards, we wouldn't have this problem. And if they released more cards that were like Arishem and created new decks, we wouldn't have this problem. The last card they released that created a new deck before Arishem, was it Loki? It was Loki.
Yeah, I guess Loki was, right? Yeah.
So, like, it might have, like, there probably was something else I'm forgetting, right? Annihilus. But, like, they're very few and far between. Cards that, like, everyone gets because they instantly create new decks, even if you're low collection level. That's Arishem. And because of that, and because they don't do that often, everyone saw Arishem and went, I don't care if that's good. I get a deck out of this. Otherwise, it's going to take me saving 15,000 tokens and 10 million spotlight caches to have a deck versus this one 6,000 token purchase. It's like a card acquisition problem more than I think an Arishem problem.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. Like I said, it does go down naturally over time, and my just fear is how far. Because I remember when High Evolutionary first came out, I remember also, like, day one, literally all I played against for the whole day was High Evolutionary mirrors. But it kind of dropped off much faster, I feel, than Arishem. Like, High Evolutionary, everyone just started playing Luke Cage, and then everyone was like, okay, cool, I'm done with High Evolutionary. But it dropped off faster. Whereas Arishem, I feel like it's still holding its popularity much better than a lot of these other, like, decks were.
So it's worth noting, though, that when High Evolutionary was so good, it was the exact same time. The people immediately went to the Lockjaw High Evolutionary, and that was played at a fairly high rate until the first set of nerfs. But that was also good at the exact same time as Bounce. And High Evolutionary, as good as it was food for Bounce. It was never as good as Bounce. Like, this was the 2-0 hit monkey, everything is stupid Bounce. Like,
yes.
Like, in that meta, like, if we had that Bounce and everyone had that Bounce, because remember, they gave everyone Kitty Pryde. So, like, if we had that situation, would Arishem have the same play rate? If you also were like, what card doesn't go in Arishem that's really good? If they just gave everyone, I mean, they're literally going to do this with Cassandra Nova, right? And we're going to see what happens. Like, Cassandra Nova is the Kitty Pryde of this analogy.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll
Again,
see how Cassandra. I think Cassandra will. The thing about Cassandra is she's a generically good card in just about any deck. I think she will, because her base stat line is so good that even outside of Arishem she'll be good, but inside of Arishem she'll be like beyond ridiculous, right? So I think if everyone gets that card, yeah, it'll probably do some serious work on taking down Arishem's popularity.
I sure hope so. If not, we'll revisit this. Any other Arishem thoughts from anyone? No? All right.
All right.
Time to talk.
Alliances.
Oh, go ahead, Roy.
No, go ahead, Glazer.
No, please.
All right, alliances. So, what are you planning to do with them? I'm going to actually direct this question first to the CEO of Snap Judgments. Aaron, are you making a Snap Judgments alliance?
I've been instructed that I'm making many Snap Judgments alliances with different people managing them. I've also been instructed that I don't have a choice on this by both the people running the alliances and the community. So that's just what we're doing for the time being. As for that, what do I think of them? I don't know. It seems fun. I wish that they had a special mode for content creators so that we could sort of oversee other alliances. I'd like to interact in multiple alliances. I have the time for that, but I'd like to try. I think that if the social features are good, this will really help Snap. And if they get to alliance competitions relatively soon and they can manage pairing for alliance competitions, that would really, really, really help Snap. I think that if this is a buggy disaster and people get kicked and people get locked out, then this is going to do more harm than good. But this should be, they're focusing a lot on Deadpool's Diner. I think alliances are going to do a lot more to help the game than Deadpool's Diners.
You're right.
I'm very excited by alliances, but that's mostly because I'm a content creator. And any new content that they give us, I'm gonna be very excited for, because this game has my biggest issue is the starvation of new content. I feel like there is very few and far between when there's new content. So I don't know if I'm just excited because it's something new or because I'm genuinely just excited for it. I am kind of just excited for it because it gives me new ways to interact with the game. It also gives me ways to interact with my community, because now we can actually build an alliance together. I'm a little bit sad that you can put 25 people in an alliance, because obviously, I would like to put a lot more. So I'm trying to figure out how to work a way around this. I'm asking, should we build multiple alliances? Do we just have like divisions? Do we have captains of multiple alliances and have 5 of them? How are we gonna? Because I feel bad for saying yes to some people and then saying no to other people. How do I do this in an objective manner that's inclusive of everyone, which is kind of hard. But other than that, it's gonna be fun. I mean, they seem to have a lot of ideas for alliances. I've seen alliance leagues where you'll have they've spoken about how potentially you can have alliances in battling out for other alliances, and whoever gets the most score in this will get these rewards and that rewards. And I think it can be a lot of fun. If there's inter-alliance competitions or inter-alliance objectives where that they put 10 alliances against each other and say the one with the most score or most cubes or whatever the thing they do at the end of the week, it gets a spotlight key for everyone or something crazy. I don't know what it's going to be. There's so much they can do with it. It opens up a lot of potential things for the future. This is going to be the starting point, but as long as they keep building upon it, it can actually lead to a lot of interesting ways to, get people to work together. Because Snap is a very solitary game, right? You play, it's you and your opponent, and that's it. Whereas now they're introducing a team element to it, which is quite nice, because that gives people a feeling of community. It gives people, kind of, when you are working together towards something, it also helps motivate people to play, because you're no longer just playing for yourself, but you're also playing for your alliance. And I think that's going to help also drive players' interest to log in and make sure you're helping contribute towards your alliance and whatnot. I think that's going to be, a lot of mobile games have this. This is actually something that I'm quite surprised took the Snap this long to do, because honestly, almost every mobile game I play, every sponsored stream of every game I log into, there's some kind of team-based thing. There's some kind of alliance, clans, whatever it's called in that game. So yeah, it's about time Snap finally has this.
Cesar?
Yeah, and the alliances will also enable a chat feature. You'll be able to chat or to the other alliance members, not to chat to your opponents. But yeah. I agree with also Glazer said. alliances might be the bridge to like more competitive activities and events and alliance against alliance stuff. That's what I'm most excited for. That it bridges to some more to a bigger competitive scene. And also, what Spyro said is sadly is the limit of how many people can be in alliance, and saying no to some and this and that is unpleasant. But what alliance I'll join, I kind of want to join these Italians, the ones which are, if they're still playing.
the two of them that are still here.
Yeah.
Have they said the number
excited for it.
of people who can join an alliance? Have
30.
they said 30? That is very small.
Yeah, so my plan as a content creator, and this is my suggestion to a bunch of content creators, and a lot of creators listen to the podcast, is I'm going to do these Snap Judgments alliances, and assuming that I can relatively easily leave one and join one, every season I'm going to just join a different Snap Judgments alliance. This way, like, I'm participating in as many of them as possible for the community's sake. I get what they're doing by limiting it to 30, and like it's not a problem for 99.9% of the player base, but there's, I don't know, 200 content creators that are just kind of screwed and gonna end up frustrated.
So for me, there's two things. One, I like that alliances reward like longer Marvel Snap play sessions. I guess like one of the things that I find frustrating about Snap is like when I get really into like a mood of playing it, like unless I want to dump gold into refreshing missions, like there's not a lot to do unless you're going to play Conquest. But if you're just like doing ranked ladder and you're not like have a strong goal, you just like kind of want to play for like 3 or 4 hours. Now you have these additional alliance missions, right? Like, so yeah, you finished your 8 missions and you've cleared this week's, season pass missions. Well, you now have alliance stuff, right? It gives you like more reasons to play for like longer sessions, which is really fun because I enjoy Marvel Snap the most when like I get like 2 or 3 hours of playing and I really like get in the brain mode for it. I think though this is going to be the saltiest feature that they've added to Marvel Snap. I think it's actually the most dangerous feature for like everyday players, like, and how they engage with the app, like chat functionality. Like, I think anyone who's been in guilds in other games, like you can have some of the best and most emotional, like people make lifelong connections like across games, right? Glazer, like one of our good friends that we played a different card game with, he's still friends with people from his WoW guild from like when all of us were small children, right? It was practically the 20th century, right? When WoW came out, right? But also like some of the worst and most toxic experiences you can have in gaming come from clans and guilds, right? And like the fact that you're opening this game, which Marvel Snap's real name should be like Marvel Salt. Like Marvel Salt Snap is a pretty salty game with the sort of like Snap component. And I worry a little bit about that. I also worry, like, if they introduce alliance competitions, like, what if I have a busy week that week and I can't, like, hit my numbers, right, for these guild competitions? Like, am I going to get tossed in my guild, right? Like, these are sort of, like, big social questions that I worry the more they push alliances as a competitive outlet, like, without sort of, like, more easily demarcating them, like there's a content that the guild has to sign up for versus like we're just going to dump all guilds into these competitions, I think can be really dangerous for the social aspect. So like
I think that's why there's also requirements, like, and if you look at the things you can put there, there's when you build a alliance, you can say requirements. You must have hit this rank. You must have this collection. I think it's there so that if you want to join like a very hyperactive, like competitive alliance, you kind of know what you're signing up for, and they're gonna want you to be busy. But if you want to join a more casual, kind of like we play when weekends and we have time, there'll probably be alliances for that too. So you pick the alliance that fits your dedication to the game, and I'm sure there'll be alliances that would be less like requirements or less like strict on, oh, you must play this much every week or whatever, right? I'm assuming.
I really hope so. And if not, like, then someone can create them, right? This feels like a really good use of both Marvel Snap Facebook and Marvel Snap Reddit, which are sort of their own insular communities of, when you read the comments, really, really casual people, right? Like, it feels like a lot of those are just going to happen. And most games have just to, you set what you're looking for, and you just sort of randomly get placed in alliance. So I assume that'll happen reasonably often as well. Hi, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the real question, is for a casual player, how much work is for alliances. I think is going to be really important, right? Because for some mobile games, you just join an alliance because that's the thing you do, and it opens up X rewards, and it just gets dumped into this big pool, and it's just sort of a box you check, right? And then there's other ones where it is closer to WoW, to use that, or Guild Wars, or whatever actual MMO you want to pick here, right? So it'll be interesting to see where Marvel Snap ends up landing, both structurally, how Second Dinner really implements it, but also part of it is not just structural from what Second Dinner does, it's cultural, what the specific alliances that the Marvel Snap, the attitude the Marvel Snap community ends up landing on with it.
I could totally see that. Given how casual and how protective they are of the casual experience in Marvel Snap, I'd assume that's where we end up.
Cool. Other thoughts, feelings about alliances, friends? All right. So huge. July is again the big month besides alliances. So let's start with Deadpool's Diner. Sizer, what feelings, thoughts, hopes, dreams, anxieties do you have about this tie-in to on what is it, July 28th? Is that when Deadpool 3 comes out? Right? This direct tie-in to the upcoming MCU movie.
You mean tied with the movie, or more like in Marvel Snap?
Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I was kind of confused for a second. What got me excited about the Deadpool Diner, I believe you're able to snap more often than once. So if both players snap turn 1, I think both players can still snap turn 2 and make it, I don't know, escalate to, I don't know how many cubes is the cap. But I'm excited for that aspect, that you can snap more than once. Makes it, a bit like poker in a sense. Not, but that wouldn't really work in Conquest so much. But yeah, I'm excited just for the event, and the borders and the reward track is also additional cool thing about it. But yeah, mainly I'm just excited how it's going to play out if you can snap more often for limited time.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm excited also. Well, as again, new content creator, and also new content. Great. I always want new content, and this is new content to interact with. I don't really know all that much about how it's going to work. There's so many questions that I have every time I see something about it. I have 5 other questions, so I don't know all the little intricate details and stuff. I do really like this is I think this is the first way they've given players an actual way to earn a new card, through an event, rather than just buy it with tokens or spotlight caches. So this is also very cool that you have an actual pretty solid reward, right? You can actually earn a new card, which is great. I wish they would do that more often. And yeah, the way I don't know how exactly it's going to work. I've heard about multiple snapping. I don't know if there's a cap or how crazy it can get. That sounds interesting. But yeah, it looks fun. It looks like there's new stuff to do, and I wish we had more of it. So more content, more events, more leagues, more things happening would be great. I'm all for it.
Right.
I'm going to be interested specifically to see how hard Cassandra is to get, how much of a dedication it requires. I know there was some salt in the community about how many millions of bulbs, right? Isn't that the currency that you get?
Bubs.
Yeah, bubs.
Bubs. Mm-hmm.
Bubs. Okay. So, Deadpool theming. Anyway,
Wolverine theming.
It is. That's true. It's Wolverine theming too. So what I'm interested in is the entry Cassandra. I think they could make the best variant 1 billion, whatever. It's an extra variant, but specifically how much you have to engage with the system to get baseline Cassandra is fundamentally the experience I'm most interested in. right? If it becomes like you just like really do have to grind, even as a more casual, disengaged person, I think that this is like they really do want to, I think, hit the sweet spot. Because I definitely agree that doing more things like this is something that they really should do, and it's fun and it's a good way to like encourage a new game mode. But I hope that they make it something where you can engage, that it encourages someone to engage more with Marvel Snap, but not like to sort of like toxic levels for the people who Marvel Snap is just one game among many that they play. So I particularly to access that baseline Cassandra card. That's really, I think, the core experience to see if it is good or
not. I don't care about Deadpool's Diner. I know that's not popular. It's going to be great for the streamers, for sure. The streamers are going to do a lot. I'm a YouTuber. So, like, I don't really give a shit about Deadpool's Diner. You know what decks are going to be good in Deadpool's Diner? I'm going to tell you right now. Decks that are going to be in Deadpool's Diner are decks that are going to be good on ladder. Decks that are going to be ladder are going to be decks that are good on Conquest. Marvel Snap is not an advanced enough game to really make decks be all that different in each different mode, although there are certain things that obviously, like tech cards, have more value when you're stuck in one match for longer. I hope it's fun. I wish it wasn't. I mean, it's got no choice. It's releasing with the Deadpool movie, but it's Conquest Week, Infinite Conquest Week, and then into the first week of the new season that this is coming out, which tend to be the busiest times in my personal life because there's a bajillion things to do and make and create at that time. But outside of that, like, the actual gameplay, it should be fun. Marvel Snap is a fun game. It's really, really hard to fuck up Marvel Snap gameplay. It's what the game has going for it, right? The reason we're here is because Marvel Snap packs all the like strategy and content of a longer game into like a 5-minute game. So I'm assuming that it's not going to be significantly worse. I would also bet nearly anything that like a rank 60 to 80 player on the ladder will be able to get Cassandra Nova without any trouble. Like, they're not trying to make everyone feel bad with their new mode. That would be extraordinarily stupid. And, like, I don't see... All of their mistakes are mistakes to the, like, competitive audience. I don't see them scoring over the casual audience.
Do you guys know if this will be separate to ladder? Is it
Yeah,
like
it is.
Yeah, it is? Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, own game mode.
And you get set at different tables. Like, it's poker. It's just poker. And then, like, as you win, your limit goes up, but you can still lose everything. And everything automatically doubles on turn 5 and 6, something like that. 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I think it's something like 4, 5, and 6. I think it doubles again and again and again.
Yeah.
My question is, how quickly can you just undo if you spend like 3 or 4 days getting a lot of bubs, can it just all get blown in like 1 or 2 games or what?
You can, but like, so there's this thing. I just saw it on Twitter 5 minutes ago. I'm tagged in someone's conversation. It's not mine. But someone's like, I was ranked 93 yesterday and now I'm ranked 50. How the fuck does that happen? I have no idea how that happens. I've never lost more than like 6 ranks. So like, it blows my mind. It boggles my mind how that's possible. So some people are gonna do it. They're gonna be like, I'm so close, and risk it all for no fucking reason. They're like, I have to start again. I hate this. But I'm assuming that most people who are like, capable of getting to rank 90, capable of getting to rank 60, 70. Like, they're not going to want this to be a feel bad. People are just going to have to play, like, reasonably well.
The thing is, though, like, what if you're very, very confident you're going to win, and your opponent is also very, very confident? Like, if I'm convinced that I'm going to win, and my opponent, I don't know, let's say a hub created them some kind of crazy win con.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to just retreat. I'm logically gonna play. If they snap me, I'm not going to retreat. And then if it goes to crazy amounts, I'm going to let logic decide for me. I'm going to say mathematically, what are my chances of losing it? If math says I'm going to win, I'm going to stay. And if I lose like 1 billion bubs, I'm going to be like, okay, damn, that's frustrating.
It's just high stakes poker at that point, though, right? Like there's times poker where like. There's a 1% chance they have a royal flush is the only thing they can beat you, and there's like a 1% chance they have it, and they have the royal flush, right? Like, once you buy into like that level of like poker stuff, and you're like, I mean, it's why I don't play high end poker, right? Like, I can't handle the idea of like I had $500,000 and I lost it on a 1 card out. Like, that's just not how my brain works. But I think like. But in many ways, I think that specific situation is a streamer's dream, though, right? Like, both either winning that game on stream or losing that game on stream is going to get you a huge amount of engagement, right? Like, the salt, your feelings,
viewers.
Yeah, like, and the clips and like YouTube video of like losing 1 million bulbs on one play, right? You'll never guess what card beat me, right? Like, it's, I think, for people who do gameplay YouTube versus like instructional YouTube, like Glazer does, like, I think, and Twitch, I think Deadpool's Diner is a huge boon, right? And for people who like love that like big number go up, right? Specifically to Glazer's thing about going from 90 to 40, Glazer, your mental is relatively strong. Like, this is something that is pretty good, having known you in many other competitive contexts, right? Like, you are not the kind of person who like wants to constantly prove to themselves once they failed that they like, and they get trapped in that spiral. As someone who can get stuck in that, like, I can feel that energy where like you just like want to regain it and you just like can't let yourself go. Right? Like, and if you don't have someone, be it a friend, a partner, your dog, whatever, to tell you to stop, you will just
your dog
spiral.
is telling you to stop. We have a different problem.
Yeah, well, hey, look, my dog comes over and like the other night, like I was staying up way too late playing RimWorld, and the dog was like, whacking me, and then I was like, what? Do you want food or something? No, she then walked into the bedroom and laid down on the bed. It was like, you should go to sleep. Like, dogs are smart. Like, they're smart. They don't even need to speak. But anyway, other Deadpool Diners thoughts. Like, I am definitely excited to watch streams of our two guests here and other folks of like high-end Deadpool Diner and sort of see like how big the numbers get. When my goal is just simply to get Cassandra Nova and then
I just guarantee I'm gonna be like one win away from getting Cassandra, and it's gonna be like a big all-in. We're both going for it, and I can just tell you for a fact my opponent's gonna create a random tech card that's gonna wipe out my whole board, and I'm gonna be very salty.
I'm excited to watch that clip.
So that's not gonna happen. Getting Cassandra, I honest to God think getting Cassandra is just gonna be easy. Like, I don't think it's going to be hard. I straight up do not think it's going to be hard. They're going to put bots in the mode, and, like, the whole early thing is going to just be full of shit, and you're going to be completely fine. They're not going to frustrate the whole community. Getting the variants, on the other hand, I think might get nightmare.
All the variant, whatever it is, but it's just going to happen. I'm going to have an all-in moment and lose 5 billion bubs.
So my plan is to get Cassandra Nova, and then while all the other content creators and good players are going for the Cassandra Nova variant, to climb on ladder against the scrubs.
He's gonna farm ladder while everyone else is
farm all
bubs.
the Arishems.
Yep. Be like, oh, do you enjoy my Shadow King Darkhawk deck? Have fun. Alright. Conquerors is coming.
Again.
Beyond yourself, who is a dream participant for you and a dream host for you? Ideally, someone who hasn't been involved yet. But if someone's been involved, like, I don't have every person who's ever participated in these.
I mean, as a participant, like an opponent and like a competitor?
Yeah.
Don't know if you remember him. Do you guys remember KGB? The guy from the early Marvel Snap days.
Yes, I do.
I always respected him and often fought him, and he would be my dream guest, but I think he might live in Ukraine, and he has stopped playing Marvel Snap or something, or Russia, but he would be my dream guest, so to speak.
Want me to give an answer while you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think which content creator is well spoken for like a host. To be honest, my issue is I have so little time. I very rarely get time to watch other streams, so I actually don't really know that much of how well spoken people are.
Maybe a female host.
Well,
they had eggs last time. We had one female, one male. I think one female, one male is quite a nice dynamic. I think they should keep doing that.
I want Den to host. I think Den Yeah, I think Den does a ton for the community. He's super well respected and well liked, and super well hated and well liked. He brings just the right kind of energy, and the reason I want Den is because Den has that French "I'm too honest" thing going, where like occasionally he will just say things that are politically incorrect for anyone but Den to say, and I think that would make the most entertaining fucking broadcast ever as a host. I would have a blast.
I'll say something. I think they should try get possibly Felicity as a
Felicity would be great.
a host. I think that'll be a decent host. And then also as a player that I would kind of like to see KX or KX. I don't know how to pronounce his name. KXAN. How does the pronunciation of this go?
I just say
KX4N Snap. There we go. That'll be a interesting one to see play.
So.
Yeah. I think Den Felicity would be a good mix, because if you're going to do someone like Den, you need like a strong straight person like that can like drive the conversation like forward, while Den is probably the most color commentator of color commentators. I think another person, ex-Marvel snapper who's shown through Lorcana that they're actually a pretty good commentator is Spessy. Like Spessy is a very strong
Specimen. Yeah.
Specimen. Yeah.
Oh, Spessy. Got it. Sorry,
I remember him way back in Gwent days.
Yeah, Gwent, now big Lorcana person. He's done the official Lorcana stream for EU events and has done a really good job. And I do agree, though, that like one male, one non-male is a really good dynamic. To keep going, and it promotes, of course, like traditionally disenfranchised groups in these sort of streaming things. So I think I also think Super Tech God would be a good commentator. He's definitely
played last time.
Yeah, he played last time, and I think he'd be a good commentator. Player, I have one, and that is Pulse Glazer. I don't stream. I can't be a player.
I
would absolutely love forcing Aaron. Anytime Aaron is forced to compete, it brings joy into my soul. This goes back to previous games that Glazer and I have competed in together, or more frequently, I'm competing and Glazer is trying to dodge actually having to do the sitting at the tournament hard part for a variety of different reasons, good and ill. So like forcing him to compete in this sort of like public high stakes thing, that is my person that I would love to say.
And in true me fashion, I would much rather host.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know.
I want GamingwithFlashX as a participant. GamingwithFlashX is a fan-frickin-tastic player, and he's not super popular, and he doesn't play a ton of stuff. And, like, he won the, like, people were playing real decks, and he went into the, Juneteenth tournament with straight-up memes and won the whole damn tournament. He's a fantastic player, and he could really use the bump in popularity. I think it would go a long way. And besides that, because I'm a crazy person, I want, like, Zuns and .go and Sizer, and I want all the, like, top ladder super competitive people because I'm an a-hole. Look, if we get 8 different number 1 finishers, I'm going to try and figure out how to host a round-robin top 8 tournament for just them. Like, we're doing something with the, like, uber competitive community, because, like, I love watching casual Marvel Snap, and this is clearly the right audience for this, but there's nothing like super competitive Marvel Snap, right? Like, it is so high level and so much fun to watch everyone's thought process. Spyro is fantastic and plays way too fast. If he ever slowed down, he'd win every tournament.
Yeah, fun fact, back in Gwent days, someone actually, I was on the whole ladder, someone like, I don't know how they got the data, but they had like some kind of like API, whatever, but apparently I had the 3rd fastest average playtime in the whole of Gwent.
It is very unsurprising watching you play Marvel Snap. I play Marvel Snap the exact same way, so I didn't notice. I really like watching your streams, and I didn't know why. Right? Like, I knew why I like you, but like, I was like, why does this resonate with me? And then, I don't know who I was talking about. You were second in some tournament, and they were like, he's so good. He just plays so fast. If he ever slowed down, it was like, that's why I resonate with this so much, because I play at that exact speed.
Sometimes I slow down, to be fair. There will be a time or two I do some thinking, but a lot of the time I'm just like, let's go. Fast.
Yeah, here's the play. Why is this the play? God bless that undo turn. Before that undo turn, like, I'm sure my MMR has shot up since undo turn. It's amazing. Meanwhile, Mr. Poker Chips over here sits there for 20 minutes before he makes any move. So you can hear Sizer plays with poker chips while he streams constantly, and he's just like, well, here's what they're gonna do, and you can hear yep, there you go, the poker chips for like 5 minutes as he takes every second because he's playing like the most complicated decks in the game, and there's so much thought. I'm really excited for Snap Masters, but that's neither here nor there. We can move on. The refer a friend thing. What are your thoughts?
It's definitely a positive.
Once again, just about every game has this. It's cool. I mean, I personally, I don't really like when I refer games to people. I don't really like go through the click this button, make sure you use my thing. I just tell people, hey, you want to try this? You might like this game. Play it. I personally don't really ever use these refer friend programs because there's too much effort for me. I just tell people go play the game. I don't really need you to like. But it's I'm sure it's useful for second dinner if they give incentives. I'm sure some person will tell their friend, by the way, please play this game. I need to do this thing. Then they might just pester their friend enough to play the game, and who knows? Maybe the friend will actually enjoy the game. Most games have something like this. To me, this is just kind of like a whatever thing. But yeah, I mean, there's no downside. Why not? It's a net positive for everyone, I guess. So sure, great.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everyone.
It's a win-win. It feels to me though like those like Uber ads that are like you get 15% off your next ride if you get somebody to sign up for Uber. It's like everyone I know who would want to use Uber has Uber at this point. And the same is true with like Marvel Snap. Like all of the people that I know who would enjoy Marvel Snap are either play it or played it and no longer play it. Right? They didn't enjoy it. Whatever. So like, yeah, more power to the people who either one are good at convincing their friends to just like play a game that they won't want to play so they can get these rewards, or like the real people who, you know, create a fake email account and you know, a second account, which is what I think a lot of people will probably.
I think I did that in Facebook games way back in the day.
Yeah, so.
If the reward is good enough, I'm doing that. I have 3 email addresses.
I mean, are the
pod at Gmail has no Marvel Snap account.
Yeah, are the variants that good looking? That's the real question.
Yeah, look, if they throw a hip in there, we're here, right? Like I'm gonna get the reward. Sorry, like and I have a big enough community that I'm pretty sure if I'm just like, hey, community, someone fucking use my refer code. Here it is.
Let's see, Noah's not old enough yet, right? So you can't.
Noah's been playing a little bit of Marvel Snap on his iPad.
There you go.
He is okay. Like I watch him play, and he's okay. But sometimes he loses to the early game bots, and I'm like, kid, read the cards.
Well, I mean,
he's like Mr.
He's literally a kid, so it makes sense that he's not.
No. You can't lose to the idiot bots. Come on, kid. You're 8. Step your game up.
All right, so leagues. All right, Spyro, how do you feel about leagues?
I was really mad the first way they went about it. It actually really made me angry. Like it genuinely, it went against all my principles. I hate it because it was quite literally pay to win, and it was just the biggest nonsense I ever saw with the way they did it. That was, you could buy a shield with perks, which meant that the best way to do leagues was to stay in ranked, pre-infinite ranked ladder and just like hyper aggressively snap against bots when you with a shield open or against. I'm glad they did away with that. I think they've opted for now for, I think, I'm not sure. They said they're going to do like now 2 different leagues. Like one is a more like pay to enter type of league with like gold, and then one is a free to play league, so that so they can still like monetize it without making it like super pay to win. I think they said they were going to do something like that. But as long as they keep it fair and that they don't let money influence how much of a chance you're going to have of winning, like it should be. I don't like it when someone can say, okay, I am Elon Musk, therefore I win leagues, because that defeats the whole purpose. You already
have a life for that.
Like, I want to feel like me as a player, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to win or not who has the bigger bank account. So as long as they keep it, as long as they allow it so that you aren't just able to swipe a credit card and win, great. Love it. Great thing. Love the idea. Fantastic. But as soon as it becomes pay to win, I'm out. I'm not even going to play it. If it's paid to win and I see that some dude, and I saw screenshots of some people when the test league, like you would have one person that's first place that has literally like 10 times the score of everyone else in his league. And it's like, well, I guess that guy is a millionaire. Great. Good job. I've got no chance of beating you because I'm not going to waste thousands of dollars to win a league. You know.
Cesar?
Yeah, my approach with leagues is just going to be like a thing on the side. I won't pay attention to it. I'll just play ladder. And at the same time, I'll gain points for the league. And then it'll just be like extra... No? That's not how it works?
Wait, no. Oh, wait, yes, yeah, you're right. In my head, when they changed it more than they did. You're totally right. My bad.
Yeah, it's just some bonus rewards you don't have to pay attention to. And then towards the end of that league period, if I happen to be close to the top 3 rewards, then I might...
If the number 2 player in Marvel Snap happens to be close to the top.
Yeah, if a player who plays a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'll push it probably. But yeah, just as a side, the extra rewards thing, I'm going to approach it with that view.
I'm really excited for leagues. Like, way more excited than I am for alliances or anything else. Like, leagues is my favorite thing coming to the game. I love the idea of just, like, a sit-down quick tournament in the app. And, like, if I've got, like, 2 days and I'm just going to, like, it's if it actually pays attention to how much I play Marvel Snap and pairs with players who play about as much, seeing how that matches up with other similar players sounds like a blast to me. For no extra pressure with some extra rewards, and then I can always grind a little bit if I need to, or maybe I won't have time to grind, but who fucking cares? This seems like a genuine joy. Like, my excitement level for this is like a 9 to 10 out of 10. I think leagues are amazing, and I think down the line, well, I guess, like, hot locations are going to screw up leagues a little bit, but outside of that, like, leagues just seem hype. Hot locations or whatever.
Leagues also can't conquest, right?
I don't know. I don't think it should.
Because I'm actually kind of curious now how it counts pre-infinite versus post-infinite, because it used to count pre-infinite, and we all know pre-infinite is inflated with bots, which means someone who's still making their way to infinite will have an advantage if you're already in infinite. Like if I'm an infinite ladder, I'm gonna be winning, like, it's gonna be like I'm gonna have like a 55, maybe 60% win rate on a good day. Whereas if you're pre-infinite, you're gonna be smashing bots all day long, and you're gonna get a lot better score.
Yeah, but if you do that for any amount of time, you know what happens? You hit infinite.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, still,
like, you'll get a couple days of advantage maybe once. But, like, I mean, look, if people are really gonna, like, be like, I'm gonna wait till the 4th week of July to try and hit infinite so that I can get some extra snap points, and then I'm gonna bum rush it in the last week. I mean, all right, I guess. Congratulations on your extra mystery variant.
And Spotlight Key.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if they're still doing that anymore.
Spotlight Key will be only the paid ones.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh,
I don't think they'll do it in the free one anymore.
But, like, are either of you planning on doing the paid ones? Because I'm definitely not.
If it's paid to enter and there's no more paying after that, cool. But if I see, like, buy this perk with gold and buy that with gold and keep getting all these advantages, I'm out.
Makes sense to me.
If it's based on time, I'm out. If it's based on games, numbers, or something like that, or like a shorter time period, not like some shorter. If it's within 5 hours or something, some shorter time period, I'll pay to enter, I guess.
I mean, look, also, when you enter a league and, like, see a bunch of names you know from ladder, right? Or a bunch of names you know of other content creators, now there's incentive. Now I give a shit, right? Like, sometimes you're going to join a league and it's going to be like Billy Bob from nowhere, and you're like, whatever. And sometimes you're going to join a league and it's like, oh, shit, there's, I don't know, there's Felicity. There's Den. Well, I guess I'm trying this one, right? Like, there's some extra spice to that. Like, there's some extra spice to content for that, too. Where, like, if you get in a league with a bunch of other content creators, you can make a lot of content based off that.
Well, do you guys know if it's region-based? Or is it...
I have no idea. I would imagine... Actually, that's a good question. This game really needs to be global matchmaking already. Holy moly, that's actually annoying me that it isn't global matchmaking yet.
Yeah, really.
That's a feature that is driving me mad, by the way, that we don't have.
I am definitely not asking within the creator program right now if leagues are region based. I would never do that. All right. Okay. Jeff Week. Do you care about Jeff Week? Are you excited for Jeff Week?
How can people not be excited for Jeff Week? I'm sorry.
Can someone remind me what Jeff Week actually is?
It's just Shark Week.
They're doing a Jeff League, and they're doing a bunch of Jeff variants, and
So
just general
Jeff themed league.
It's Shark Week.
All right.
It's Shark Week, and so they just turned like Shark Week's a big thing in the U.S., right? It's and it's on cable networks and stuff since Glazer and I were kids. And they just did a shark. It's just this while Shark Week is happening, they're doing Jeff Week as an additional theme. And I don't know how people. Jeff's a great card, has some great variants, except for this Venom one. I really do not like the Venom one, but
you won't have to worry about it. That one's a what's the stupid expensive variant called that I never buy?
The Spotlight Cash one?
You mean the Ultimate variants?
Yeah, it's an ultimate variant.
Oh, okay, cool, good.
I refuse to buy ultimate variants.
Which are completely pointless now, by the way, since they've scrapped the whole ultimate evolution thing, which also really bugs me.
They were always super useless.
Maybe at some point to put them
at least
in the real
they had
pool.
the incentive of being useful one day, which actually baited me into buying more than I probably would have because I thought they were going to be useful one day. Now they've just been confirmed to always be useless, and I'm like, well, can I get a refund, please?
I think Jeff Week will allow. Will Jeff Week allow people to get? Will Jeff Week allow people to get Jeff for free if they unlock a variant?
That's actually a good question.
Yeah, actually, it would have to,
yeah.
Right?
That's
very cool if they do that.
I think it's a card everyone deserves for free.
On this a lot. Yeah, that'd be super cool. I hope they do that.
I'm excited.
Definitely not going to say that in the creator program either.
All right, well, Glazer continues to use his back channels to gain information. It's worth switching over to our front-facing information, so the best knowledge here about climbing Infinite Ladder. All right, Sizer. Climb Infinite Ladder, why do you do it?
I do it, I guess, I have a very competitive nature in general. But I guess the main reason is if you compare it to Conquest, in theory in Conquest you gain skills which you can use in tournaments. So in theory Conquest is maybe better practice, but why I play ladder is, yet again, it's even better practice because if you play top ladder, you play against better players. And that kind of trains you more. You also get to discover better decks. You get to test your decks against better players. And it's always... I guess it's also just ultimately the competitive nature that drives me to play ladder because there's no rewards tied to it. So, yeah,
they have to redo that at some point.
So, what are the key strategies?
The infinite leaderboard has to be redone.
Yeah, I mean, what they should do, what I would really like to do, what they did in Gwent was they had finish top 1,000, you get 500 credits, whatever. Finish top 500, you get 250 credits and a border. Finish top 100, you get 1,000 credits and an avatar. Finish top 50, you get. It'll be cool. It'll give people reason to keep playing. I mean, that's a net. Keeping people playing your game and keeping people invested is good for you, right? It makes people play. The more they open the game, the more chance they spend money. I don't know. I feel like it would be a great idea, and it would also give especially if they made exclusive avatars and stuff for certain positions on that. I think a lot of people would be hyped by that. Personally, I would love that if there was an avatar and you saw a person had that meant they were top 50 or top 100 or top 20 or whatever it is. That would be pretty cool, and I think a lot of people would try hard for that. But yeah, why do it? I mean, the problem is there's not really much else to do in Snap right now. So, I mean, by default, if you play Conquest, but after you get all the rewards in Conquest, there's no point in it anyway. So all that's left is to play ladder. And I mean, there's a leaderboard. There's some numbers on it. It's kind of cool. I wish it was global leaderboards. It would feel a lot more competitive if it was global leaderboards. But honestly, for me, it's two reasons. One, I also like competing. I like leaderboards. I like trying to place as high as I can. But two, there's also not really much else to do. That's a big problem I have with Snap is there's not really a whole lot to do. and which is why I'm excited for things like leagues and things like Deadpool's Diner and things like alliances, because it gives you more stuff to do. I just really wish they would give more incentive for leaderboards and actually like reward people for their positionings on leader. And it doesn't even have to be, if you don't want to give currency because you think it's going to break the economy if second in his stance is, oh, but then if we give any more currency it's going to break the economy and we don't want people to have everything for free, so blah blah, then just make an exclusive avatar or some. It can be something dumb, it can be really like some stupid avatar, but
just give some borders. You can choose a border you want.
An exclusive avatar for finishing top 100, even if it's a shitty avatar I don't care about. The fact that I am one of the top 100 people that have that avatar, great. I'm going to be hyped to get it. And I'm sure a lot of other people will try hard for it too. That's more than enough incentive for me.
I think it would be cool to have a frame.
Or frame or something. Yeah, something. Anything.
But yeah, key strategies I see as a second point on the PowerPoint. I guess a key strategy maybe is don't play the meta, but counter the meta. I feel like the rank 1 decks are usually decks which are not playing the meta, but countering the meta.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
I can check that. Give me a second. I literally just spent yesterday gathering every top 1 deck that has existed in Marvel Snap. Where are we? At the start, that was not true. And then it's basically true from December on.
Yeah, in December
when September to November. September Storm, Lockdown, or Black Knight Terror were not the meta. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, sure. They were not the meta, right? And then it was never a meta. It was never the meta deck again.
And when I tied rank 1 in December, I played like a Miss Marvel Storm deck, and my whole principle of the deck was to counter Miss Marvel. I had Echo, I had Mega Sonic. Like it was just a counter meta deck until Black Knight came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one strategy which is actually quite important. It's actually kind of impossible for me to follow my own advice as a streamer because you're kind of stuck there for like however long you're streaming. But like trying to manage getting frustrated, like it's a game with high RNG. There's going to be times where you hit like bad streaks and it's going to be frustrating. When you are frustrated, you're going to be having this, you're going to have like a mental, like you want to get back your cubes. You're going to be probably snapping more aggressively in things you shouldn't be snapping. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I lost 100 ranks. I must get back 100 ranks. And you're going to, you can sometimes kind of get in that spiraling mindset, which I think it's important people to take a break or just walk away for a bit and come back when they're feeling a bit refreshed. Obviously, can't follow my own advice very well because content creation demands that I sit at the computer for like 6-7 hours. But just in general, I do think that is probably going to help a lot of players be a bit more able to deal with bad streaks.
So I think it's also important to note a thing I've noticed a lot is that snap points tend to stay really static for fairly long periods of time, and then you have a sudden burst where you go up massively. Like, you'll just suddenly, like, get a whole bunch all at once, and then you're back to static. Like, so your goal for most of Marvel Snap, at least in my opinion, should be, like, be break-even, net positive, small gains, and then you suddenly make a few huge gains. And then you go back to, like, the small gains. But if you're, like... And then when you lose, you're only losing a little bit at a time as a general rule, and it really, really, really helps climb. Also, don't play when you're on the phone. I lost 600 snap points last season because I was on a phone call and not paying attention. It was just like, wee! And I looked down and I go, oh, shit.
Moving on to point 4, underrated players. I'd say one underrated player that I've noticed that plays quite well is someone called No Bounce Bast Guy, or No Bast Bounce Guy. It's a very strange name, but he plays pretty well. He's actually like, he's now quite often like top 10. Came out of like nowhere, but yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Anyone else underrated? Well, I got one.
You go ahead.
Dubos is fantastic. Dubos is very, very good. He's an Argentinian player. He is just genuinely stellar at Marvel Snap. He plays an absurd amount. He played like 1,000 games in like 2 days. Something stupid. He played more than I did in the whole season in like 2 or 3 days last season and got up to like rank 15. But a lot of them meta decks that we don't realize. He chats with Gnome and Woody in them, and he sends them a lot of shells that they end up like crafting into like these tier 1 decks that become popular, and he's the basis of a lot of those. He's severely underrated.
A small note on the strategy. I keep telling myself losing 1 cube is losing no cube, just to promote retreating more often.
Very agreed. I really like that. Losing 1 cube is losing no cube. Yeah, I'm stealing that forever. Thanks.
Yeah, please.
Mine now. No, but it's so like true, right? Like if you lose 1 cube, it's like the game never happened. It barely, like, you get like what 7 snap points at the bottom end for gaining or losing. Like, that's nothing. That's a nothing game compared to everything else. It's just so little.
Mm.
All right. What's one thing about climbing to the top of the ladder that most people don't think of? I've never been to the top. I peaked at like 250. So what's something at the top of the ladder that most people don't think of?
That any deck can make it, that it's primarily your snapping and your retreating habits. Like almost any deck with a 55% win rate ish can achieve anything you want in Marvel Snap as long as you snap and retreat accordingly.
I dig that. Spyro.
Yeah, I'm thinking kind of like most of the things I would think of. I feel like people do kind of already know that. I'm trying to think.
Say some things that you think people know that are still important, because like some of the audience will definitely not.
Definitely understanding what kind of decks that you're playing against, because knowing what kind of tech cards are coming, what you go, I'm playing into Loki deck, that probably means they might be running Shang-Chi in this deck, or I'm playing into Arishem deck, they could be playing Rogue. Knowing what kind of tech cards I'm playing into Cerebro 2, they might be playing what's that card called? Negasonic, right? Knowing what kind of tech cards your opponent has and what kind of list they run, it's going to help you a lot, because if you expect certain tech cards, you can A, play around them, or B, you can retreat appropriately. Very important to know what kind of decks are around.
Cool. Yeah. Also, if your deck is bad into a meta deck, run on any snap, right? Like if you lose to, I don't know, pick a deck, right? Like Darkhawk. Hela. You lose to Hela and they snap you. Like, they're snapping for a reason. Just run, lose your 1 cube. And losing 1 cube is losing no cube. I said that clearly. I'm quoting myself. But no, like, if you don't have to beat every meta deck. So I post a lot of decks, right? And someone always comments, "This loses so hard to X. How can that be good?" And I'm like, because when I see X, I retreat for 1. Like, I don't care. Like, outside of the Arishem current craziness, like, even the best decks, you're seeing like one out of every 5 games. If I'm competitive and winning a lot in 4 out of 5 of my games, I'm perfectly happy to just retreat for 1 in that 5th game.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other underrated players? I got another.
Yeah, I would have one after you.
Okay, JJ Rolk is fantastic and plays the weirdest shit in the world. JJ Rolk is always top 100 and plays just like complete jank.
Honestly, playing complete jank and playing weird decks is honestly in Snap is actually such an advantage. Because people, like, not knowing what your opponent's playing. You know how many times I lose and I sit there going, what the hell is this deck? And the first thing I want to do is click on untap or find more decks. I want to see what the hell that was. Mm-hmm. And like it says like no game or no deck found or low game volume. I'm like, damn it, I can't see the stats. And like I just want to see what the deck is, because losing to some random counter or whatever is it happens so often, and it's just no way of predicting what's going to happen when it's a deck you don't recognize.
Well, there's so many cards that like you just forget exist, right? Like I lose cubes to like Valkyrie and Claw left and right. I like mentally run through my checklist of shit they probably have, and like Valkyrie and Claw do not exist on that mental checklist. So if you want 8 cubes from me, beat me with those.
Yeah.
About underrated players, I have like a nice saying. I think the best player in Marvel Snap is still someone out there who's still collecting their cards. Someone who doesn't have the complete collection yet. So like, and then once he has it, he'll show himself.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Look, Zones is still free to play.
Oh yeah.
Which is, wild, but it's true. All right. Anything else about Infinite Ladder or climbing that we think is notable?
I mean, ideally, you want to be in spots where you're snapping, not the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, so if he just snaps you, losing one is none, and just get yourself in spots where you're snapping, not him. But that's more true in the high ladder, and like higher ranked ladder. On the lower ranked ladder, they might be snapping randomly. But
you know what the most instructive season for me was? The one that BBAK, February, when BBAK finished in first place with Mr. Negative, like purely Mr. Negative at the height of the Thanos meta, not Thanos Lockjaw, the post-Thanos Lockjaw meta, but the Thanos is everywhere and completely broken meta, where Thanos has barely been nerfed at this point and everything is insane, and we've got Professor X and all these other things, and Mobius is in all these Thanos decks, and he still finished number one. It was like, if you just run, like, because even then, Thanos is 1 in 5 games, right? You just lose 1 cube when you lose and win a bunch of cubes when you win, and you will climb. It was so instructive. It changed my paradigm.
Right, those Mr. Negative decks at those times had like a minus 50% win rate. They were like 47% win rate, but cube rate was high. Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time.
It was crazy impressive. All right. We all set?
All right. This brings us to the final segment of each and every episode, the variant of the week. All right. We'll start here on the left with Baby Juggernaut. All right. Who picked Baby Juggernaut?
I picked Baby Juggernaut, even though I do not use Baby Juggernaut. I use the next Juggernaut we're going to talk about in honor of the man who put Juggernaut into the meta, Sizer. No one played Juggernaut, and Sizer had Juggernaut in every fucking deck. Like, I was like, why is Juggernaut here? He was like, Juggernaut wins cubes. That was the only answer I ever got. I was like, Juggernaut wins a game. It's fine. But I love the baby one. I think it's completely adorable. And if I didn't have to honor with the next one we're going to talk about, I would be running the baby one because it's so cute. It's running through the wall. It's like the Kool-Aid Man Baby Juggernaut. It's phenomenal.
All right. This middle one, Venomized Juggernaut. Who picked the Venomized Juggernaut?
Yeah, I picked it. It's just Juggernaut is my favorite card in the game. And I was waiting in the shop for this to come out for ages. And it also looks good. I judge my variants on how it looks like if it's gold. Like on if there's enough frame for it, for gold space, kind of. And I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine 3 weeks ago, before Juggernaut was everywhere, losing 8 cubes to this schmuck with a gold Juggernaut? Like, where was that in your mental checklist to end the game, right? Until you put it on the radar, right? And then the Woody group started playing it, and then it was everywhere. But 3 weeks ago, could you imagine how annoyed you'd be? It's like, this asshole plays this much Juggernaut that he's got a gold venomized Juggernaut that I just lost 8 cubes to.
Waiting for the Juggernaut emote.
All right, Spyro, I believe great minds think alike. You and I both picked this one on the right. So why do you like sort of steampunk Juggernaut or fantasy Juggernaut? I don't know exactly.
I just like fantasy variants. They're all so good. Every fantasy variant, just like ST in my opinion. I just love all the fantasy variants. I don't know why. It's just fantasy. Look at, for example, fantasy. I'll give you a perfect example of fantasy variant. The Typhoid Mary, it's so much better than the others. Fantasy variants are so damn good. And when I was asked which your favorite Juggernaut variant, I was like, fantasy. It's just fantasy came to mind first. It's just the best type of variant in my opinion.
All right. So that brings us to the end of another episode of All New Snap Judgments. Our final thing we do is we remind...
That's not the numbers. Shh.
2654.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So we allow our guests to remind us about what they would get for tuning in. So Sizer, if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers were to become your loyal viewers of your Twitch stream, what would they get from your stream?
You get some high-level commentary, like of what I keep reminding myself. All this is also a key strategy point in ladder, you could say. I like to question what will my opponent play before I do my play, and that's streaming reminds me to do that more often. And you just get a snapshot of how I think and how I do decisions and what I think the opponent will do and how stuff like that. And I plan to stream daily 4 hours. I'm still new to streaming Marvel Snap. Started 2 weeks ago. And I hope you guys drop by.
Right. So Sizer is one of the streams I spend the most time on. I'm there fundamentally every day, and which is fine. It's not actually a change because we talked every day any fucking way. So it's not like this is some huge wild change that now I'm watching him stream as we talk. But I learn a lot about the game, right? A lot of my content is meant to be educational, it's meant to help people get better. And Sizer helps me get better so that I can try and help other people get better. You should 100% be on his stream. And I know that a lot of my community is, because whenever I go to his stream, I say hi. And then a bunch of my regulars are like, hey, because it's genuinely top-notch Marvel Snap gameplay where you will be able to become a better player and more metacognitive about the game.
I always reason why I snap. Or just when I snap, I just...
Although he can't teach me to play that stupid bounce list. That balance move list, no matter how hard he tries. I cannot play that list.
All right, Spyro, excuse me. All right, so what would our loyal listeners and loyal viewers get if they became your loyal listeners and loyal viewers of your Twitch stream? Because the number of Twitch streams that I listen to is very high.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like to try and mix high level gameplay in, but with also try have engaging. So I like to interact with people, speak to people. If you have any questions, if you want to know what card you should get or how to improve or whatever question, I'm always willing to try answer as many questions I can, engage. I also stream daily, so if you want someone to reliable schedule, I feel like it's pretty reliable. Just try to create a fun, educational, also not focus fully on educational in case you just want someone to chill, but also trying to make it fun as well. But yeah.
All right. So watching Spyro is like watching me stream if I was actually good. It's great gameplay, super fast, super snappy, super fun. I am constantly in Spyro stream. If you want a big streamer, he's where you go. At least in my opinion, in Marvel Snap. There's a lot of really great big streamers. There's a lot of really big streamers that are our friends. But my favorite, larger stream of Spyro's, my daily schedule over the summer has been wake up, eat breakfast, take my son to camp, come back and flip between Spyro and Ika. I tend to start with Ika, then end up in Spyro for a while as I'm doing a bunch of Marvel Snap work. Right around when they get off, Sizer gets on, I go to Sizer's stream, and then I go pick up my kid from camp. I hang out with him, and then I come back and hang out in whatever Power On streamers on. That's my daily schedule of Snap. It's like Snap vitamins. You get every bit of different Marvel Snap perspectives that you really need between Eco, Spyro, and Sizer, and then my various Power On friends, or I hang out at night as I'm doing other things and finishing making the content, because the content doesn't make itself, and I spend a lot of time on the computer, and there's always one of these wonderful people in the background. Spyro is genuinely fantastic and genuine, so you should 100% be checking him out.
All right. So now everyone, especially my favorite segment, which is where Glazer is going to read off all of our patrons. Just another quick reminder to support us on Patreon. It's what allows Glazer to support the awesome, competitive, high-end competitive community of Marvel Snap. You can support that through as low as $1 and be able to join the Snap Judgments League. So Glazer, over to you.
Let's do this fast so we can have a nice rest of the day. Thank you to Abgail Giesler, Manager Marnock Cables, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is The Way, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jane Every, Doomer, Prime Brian, Caretixley, Quire, Pyrofrost, The Goat Seeker, Deadman Falcon, Quid Projo, Doc D, King of New Marvel Snap Content, Fat Nick, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, XRC, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, who won Snap Judgments League Season 1, The King of Bros, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, Kev Ciota, Ludacris, Archangel 3K, John Q, Louis Antonez, Matza Supreme Models, Darth Theta, Remy Satala, Brian Coffin, Tristan Smart, Jason B, J. John Lehoff, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrum X, Hoot, Matt H, Mikey Hudgings, No Flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, my favorite, Lauren Whatevs, the Pirate King Tuccrr, the Homie Min, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for take us to the exit of this episode.
All right. Well, we've reached the exit of the episode, friends. All right. I want to thank you, Spyro, for joining us for this awesome episode.
No problem. Glad to be here. It was fun. Yeah, well, it's interesting to talk about all the upcoming stuff for the game. And thanks for having me.
All right. Sizer, thank you so much for joining us this week. It was awesome having you on.
It was a pleasure as well. Thank you as well for inviting me.
Awesome. All right, Aaron, thank you for joining me yet again each and every week for Snap Judgments.
Peace and love, everybody.
All right, friends. Until next week, stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping.